All right, and we're live. Welcome once again to HeroQuest fans. This is going to be part two. Well, this is part two of the unboxing stream for HeroQuest 2021 Remake from Hasbro. Not an endorsed or sponsored video in any way, just me sharing my thoughts so that you can see what the game's all about. And if you're interested, try to get your copy, or if you're still waiting for your copy, as many people are. So the new stream begins. We're just getting started a few minutes late here. We actually did a stream much earlier. Friend of mine and I, we actually opened up the box live on camera. That is posted over on YouTube. The YouTube channel is XSC3, and that's where all of the backup videos are going for this channel, so you can check it out. Hopefully my voice holds out. I'm going to cover a few more things here. Now, this is the classic game right here. The classic game box, the Les Edwards artwork. But we're not going to be spending all our time comparing, although we could do a little bit of that. A guy, Kale Darkhollow, over on Yield In, has done a fantastic job, I think, of comparing the different versions. I mean, he's got the UK version because HeroQuest was originally a European game, and he's got the US version from 1990, so the following year, 89-90, and then the 2021 version. And so he's shown pictures of the furniture side by side, the miniatures side by side. It's really awesome. So I would say Kale Darkhollow, also a Dead Gamer on his YouTube channel. He has gone through like page by page of some of those documents showing the differences. Some of the stuff he made private just because he didn't want to get in trouble with all those spoilers. But yeah, immeasurably helpful as far as understanding what the remake is all about. And also special thanks to some other people that really helped out a lot. Hispa Zargan, or Hispa Zargon, and Shadzar. Whenever something new would be posted, they would immediately chime in and be like, "Here it is. Here's a new thing. Post it up." And Lesto Dante and all those people. Now we had a whole list of people. Fane Flynn, I think, was kind of busy. Jay Dean, AJ Johnson. Um, yeah, I'm forgetting a few people, but we had a whole list of volunteers for unboxings. But now there's unboxings everywhere, so you pretty much can't be the first person because someone's going to get it ahead of you. So there's my classic Return of the Witch Lord, classic Keller's Keep. And as of right now, HeroQuest is not in retail. So we don't know if or when that's going to happen. I think a lot of us are hopeful that that's going to happen. Some people are more pessimistic, thinking, well, it's just going to be an exclusive through Hasbro Pulse's website, and they could always just say, oh, we're out of stock, and it's just an elite thing for a small group of people. But hopefully they don't keep it like that. They make it a game for the masses, which is what Stephen Baker and all the people that helped create HeroQuest in the first place wanted it to be. They wanted it to be for the masses, for the people, to introduce them to fantasy tabletop gaming, but just making it easy to understand, age 10 to adult. So we'll see. But for now, the people that pledged are getting their games, and there's still people that are out there waiting. There was a crazy story. So with mine, I got an email saying it's ready, it's delivered, but they never rang the doorbell, they never knocked. I looked in my mailroom in my apartment complex, it wasn't there. I thought, gee, it's this huge 14-pound box. So, oh great, and I'm walking around the whole building because back in the winter, of course, with the pandemic, everybody knows, there are problems with the mail, short-staffed and having new people and just all kinds of crazy stuff. I remember finding boxes in the snow and just it was weird. But anyway, yeah, they left it on the back staircase, like just on the stairs next to the trash cans. It was really weird. So I don't know. I mean, at least I got it. There were no porch pirates, but I mean, it was just within moments that from the email saying delivered to there it is. But I didn't have to sign for it, even though they said signature required. So, but I really got it. I didn't steal someone else's game. It was definitely delivered. But anyway, so for 150 bucks plus $30 shipping, I got what was called the Mythic tier. And the Mythic tier, so the Heroic tier is just the remake of this. The Mythic tier, there's a remake of this and a remake of this. And they threw in a bunch of unlocks. Now you might wonder, why am I just showing you the classic Hero Quest instead of the unboxing? Well, so far there's nobody here, so I'm just kind of killing time for a second. But I am going to show you, the box has already been opened. That video is over on YouTube, and I'm going to go ahead and just grab the link so that you can see it. We had a lot of audio issues. I have some low budget equipment here. Now, they're not truly low budget reviews because low budget reviews are the property of Ron Mower on YouTube, also on Twitch. Good guy, check out his channel. I don't think he's into Hero Quest. I don't think he even played it, but great for video games. So anyway, there's going to be the link to YouTube for the videos. So this video will go up there shortly. But I'm going to go through everything in the box and talk about it some more and reveal some more information that we learned through the forum, through Ye Olde Inn. Now, people that already own it probably already know this stuff, but everybody's got a different level of knowledge. I mean, some people grew up with the European version of the game, and so this is a big shock to suddenly see the rules changed and all these new artifacts, and the wizard is suddenly can't use certain stuff, and everything's changed. And then other people, they kind of remember the game vaguely from their childhood, but like Cosmic Tavern, bless him, he had a great, very helpful, extremely helpful unboxing. He was one of the first ones that I saw, and he went through everything. And it was kind of good that he was just like, well, as a kid, I played with the miniatures, but I didn't really understand the game, didn't really play it according to the rules. So he just showed the stuff that was in the box. There was no editorial, like editing. It was just, this is what's in there. Well, the focus of these unboxings is more going to be the perspective of a veteran player of HeroQuest, not necessarily a Warhammer Fantasy fan, because I wasn't one of those. I barely knew it existed back then. I mean, I knew about 40K and everything, that it was just like, wow, this looks like a really expensive hobby. And somebody gave me a gift of a few miniatures. Actually, I have those for my brother-in-law, and it was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and maybe I'll work on painting these sometime, and I have. But as far as playing the game, not a lot of interest. It's just too rich for my blood. But HeroQuest is a different animal. It's much more affordable. But yeah, for $100, you can get the heroic tier. And of course, that whole thing has ended. So if they don't bring it back to retail, then it's just going to be a scalper's market, which is not that great. But anyway, the point is, I want to review it for nerds, for geeks, for people that wonder how is it different from the old game. So we have a bunch of community questions that were asked, and they've pretty much all been answered. But I'm going to go ahead and just put them in the video for the sake of just having them all in one place. And I would suggest go to the forums to get more information, because there is a lot of great stuff there. Just excellent. I know that there's communities on other social media, on Facebook and so forth, but I like the inn. I mean, it was Dwayne Agan's inn back in the day, back in the 90s, late 90s. So the game kind of faded away in the mid 90s, and then it had a presence on the internet. There was Old Scratches forums. But anyway, Ye Olde Inn was an attempt to kind of revive that. And it has a similar kind of design to the Agan's Inn and everything. And just dedicated to creativity, spin-offs. I mean, people have translated the stuff into other languages. They've modified the rules. It's just a lot of great stuff. I can't say enough good things about it. And it's not perfect. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of arguments, should we say lively discussion, but I think that's healthy for an internet community. If it's just an echo chamber, it's not what it needs to be, I think. So, but if you're just there to get content, you can get it in spades. So anyway, I'm just going to move this stuff out of the way here, and we'll start looking at the remake. And when we did the previous video, I will admit that I did not have all of my classic stuff with me. So I actually relied on some 3D prints. And there's another reason I did that is because the heroes that came with my copy of Classic Hero Quest, I'm going to call it Classic from now on, were already painted. So I wanted to show the ones that were just plain red, what they look like. So these are Classic Hero Quest miniatures. Obviously, you can paint the new ones too, but these are, these guys look familiar, right? They're right over there. So that's what they look like out of the box, except for the eyes. I kind of worked on the eyes a little bit. But anyway, so these heroes will be here for reference. And I want to show you the new ones. Oh yeah, and here's the classic monsters, of course. So we got the Gargoyle, Chaos Warlock, Chaos Warrior, Skeleton. They got that kind of yellowish color. Let's see. Mummy. Focus. Okay, Mummy. Zombie. Classic Goblin. And there were 3 different kinds, of course. These different goblins. Goblin, and then the Fimmer. The Fimmer we don't have in the new set. It's actually an abomination. That's what they call it. It's like a fish monster or a murloc, as my friend was suggesting. I'm not a big World of Warcraft guy, so if that's wrong, take it up with him. Classic Orc. So I just want to show you these guys so that you can see clearly what the old game looked like versus what the new game looks like. So I'm just going to throw those guys back in there. And notice the sound of the plastic. That this is like, I think people have told me that this is styrene. I don't know, any of you alchemists out there can tell me what it actually is, but it's like model kits like from the 80s made out of this plastic. A lot of board game pieces are made out of this material, whereas the new HeroQuest material is very different. People have compared it to Descent, I guess, but that's not a game I've ever played, so I can't really tell you. Now this stuff came pre-painted, but you can see there's the old Sorcerer's Table and the torture rack. So you notice how there's the cardboard component, treasure chest. Notice how it looks kind of like an elf. I think it is meant to be an elf. Yeah, for the tomb. And these did not come painted, of course, but the guy bought them from on eBay or a previous owner actually painted them. So there's a bookcase. Notice the 2 bookcases have different artwork. So cardboard. Of course, those skulls and rats are removable. There's the fireplace. I call him King Angry, but who knows how that really is. There's no lore about him. It's just a guy, just a little decoration. There's the table. And you can rewind, freeze frame. This is what the old weapons rack looked like. And of course, this is stiff plastic. This part, this halberd, or I guess it's a bella hook. I don't know, but whatever that is broken off. Bailey hook. I don't know my medieval weaponry. Take it up with Shadiversary. He's a aficionado of that stuff online on YouTube. Here's the extra skulls and a rat that I have left. The tails usually break off of those little rats. These are the bases for the doors. And there's the cardboard part of the doors. These things got bent up pretty easily. There's a open door, closed door. So I'll just show you real quick what it would look like for the classic game. Now, in a past video, I said we're all dressed up and know where to go. That's no longer true because I have the game and I've already opened it. So I was able to put everything back in, more or less. That's the throne. There's the alchemist bench. It's little scales. What a cool design. And I actually have the game so I can show you up close and I can talk a little bit more about it. So anyway, with all that out of the way, so that's the classic game. Classic Hero Quest, so you can have that in mind so that when we look at the new game, you'll know what I'm talking about as far as the differences. Okay, oh, one more thing. Obviously, this dice rolling box is just something I made for fun. Here's the original tiles. So we got the spiral staircase. I just have them in this bag here. The secret doors, pit traps, skull tiles for damage, falling block trap. Just all the basics, and it's black on the back. Double block stone, single block stone. It's always something double-sided. These are the hero boards or hero tiles. So this is, you know, kind of matte finish chipboard. So you got the wizard, classic wizard. I put these in these photo sleeves for protection. Works pretty well. So on the back side, you've got all the actions they can do. These are sometimes referred to as turn cards because you put them in the order that they're going to move. Zargon goes last in Hero Quest. Barbarian, Dwarf, and the Elf. So these are the North American style. The European ones were taller, and on the back it was blank, I believe. So these are not the original dice. These are Spielwarenschalun German dice. They're just painted on. They're not inscribed, but they're made out of plastic. And notice they've got rounded corners. The rounded corners on the dice are something that was shown in the 2021 preview, and it was how the original dice were. Now, the original dice were smaller than this, and they were made of wood, so they yellowed, and the black came off of the images, and our hot, sweaty little hands playing. But even the movement dice were rounded, and these have silver pips, but the ones we had gold pips. Pips are the little dots. But now I'm going to put those away and show you the new game. And let me just check and see if we've got anybody here yet. Nope, we don't. That's okay. Just going to forge ahead, and I'm just going to set my microphone down just for a second. Sorry for any noise there, so I can get the game out and you can see what we're talking about. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm back, and that has taken up a lot of room. So let's switch to the other view and see if we can see it a little better. Just a little bit. Okay, well, you've already seen the stuff come out of the box, so there's no sense in me repeating all that. So we'll just go ahead and take it out. So the first thing in there, obviously, is just a plain piece of cardboard, nothing special. Oh yeah, I photocopied this. These are the European rolls. So not on this stream, but on a future stream, I'm going to read these out so you can remember the differences. Okay. Sorry, breathing hard because all this cardboard is another piece of cardboard. Let's toss that to the side. And since I got the Mythic tier, this is the Mythic tier that was inside there. This is just a kind of a smooth box. Has the imitation Les Edwards artwork. The dragon, the infamous dragon on the back. They didn't meet the stretch goal for the dragon, but we still got it. Joe Manganiello begged and pleaded, and those are the contents. And so he got his quest pack released. And we also got the stretch goal that wasn't met, the alternate gargoyle. Okay, and there's Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord. And of course, the gigantic game system box. Right there. I'm going to try to do this on my little bitty card table. And again, I'm not trying to repeat everything that was already done. I just want to talk more about some of the components so that you can learn the information that we've got. So first thing I want to show is I did not show some of the cards. We were kind of rushed at the end. So, all right, so that's of course, the tile sheet, double-sided. So I'll switch back to our regular camera. So there you've got the miniatures, quest books. This was the best one so far, the Stephen Baker one, in my opinion. Spirit Queen's Torment. It's got some controversial material because there are orcs that aren't necessarily evil in it. And then the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness, which reminds me of a lot of fan quests where they just jack up the difficulty, just really make it hard. So maybe not as hard as the Barbarian or Elf Quest packs, but definitely difficult, especially if you've just played these two and are expecting to be similar. Okay, so here's the stuff that we forgot to cover or covered kind of quickly. Whoa, so these extra cards, obviously I've taken them out of the little paper. So here we've got, now these are different than the other hero cards because they have the story on the back for the normal ones. Oh, actually, no, this is correct. So these female heroes are, everything's set up exactly like the male hero. So story on the back, it's a regular card, and it says starting armor, none. See that? So just keep that in mind. So female wizard, same way, same exact stats. Elf, female elf. Actually, no, this is not the female. This is the male elf. Look at the chest region. Yeah, so you get the female elf by default, but then the male elf is a bonus hero from the Hasbro Pulse. So if you order through their website, you get these bonus heroes. See, and Sir Ragnar is in red there in the lower left. Female dwarf. Okay, but here's the other ones. So the bard, notice that doesn't say starting armor. And in the back, it's got his story, but that is a new character, and he is introduced in the Spirit Queen's Torment. And he also, the miniature, which is actually here, this miniature. So he's a singing orc. A lot of people were like, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. An orc bard, an orc hero, that's, I don't like that. Well, he's only in the one quest book, okay? And this can actually represent several different orc allies. Honestly, though, if I was going to play, I might just use a regular orc. The only thing would be, well, how do you tell them apart? I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so you got the bard, and each of these newer heroes has 3 unique spells. So you got the warlock. That is this little character down here. This tiny little, I guess they call that a halfling, like a hobbit. But she's got like a third eye. No. So there's the warlock. And let's see, I just kind of threw these all together. Oh yeah. Okay, so we got the Warlock spells. So this is the same linen finish that all the cards have, and they're pretty light. They're pretty lightweight, and they're about poker size. So demon form, fear. See, they all have kind of a dark edge to it. The idea would be, oh, it's a sorcerer that's flirting with the dark side and dark wings. So, but the thing is, if you don't like the Warlock, don't worry because she's not mentioned in any of the new quest books, period. None of the game system or Keller's Keep or Return of the Witch Lord quests have been modified for these new heroes at all. The Bard is the only one. So if you don't like this character or if you didn't get the Mythic tier, you're not missing anything if you don't want to. Now, if you really want to use that character, well, there's other ways. You can just, I'll just keep quiet about that. But yeah. Okay, so then the Bard, what does he have? See, I think he looks like a pirate. I mean, you've got the tentacle, you've got the anchor, pirate hat. I mean, that really should be a cutlass, but it looks like an epee or a foil, I guess. Treasure chest. It's got a medal. That's totally a pirate. Half orc pirate, full orc pirate. He's got lullaby, so it's obviously just sleep. And then healing song. Actually, you know what? He seems like a cleric. He seems like a cleric, like a healing support type character. Inspiring tale. So I had this idea and I put it on the forums, and it's my own crazy idea. Nobody likes it but me, but the idea was, okay, there's one of these orc pirates, but he was shipwrecked and these monks like took him in, against all better judgment. And they were able to somehow reform him. And so now he's a cleric and he goes around trying to convert the orcs to the side of light. And he doesn't have a lot of luck with it, but he does try. So maybe something went wrong in his conditioning and he wasn't completely evil. But I'll get into the plot line of these quests. There's going to be spoilers everywhere, of course, with these, of what they really said. I mean, to purists, none of this stuff is canon, I'm sure. So druid spells. So that's the druid. Now, the original design, she was like in like aerobics workout clothes, and everybody made fun of it. So she modified it and gave her like a leafy, like kind of Amazon type. I guess not really an Amazon. What am I trying to say? Like a uh, uncontacted tribal person fantasy thing. She's got like flowers in her hair and like an animal glove, gauntlet, I suppose. She kind of looks like a combat Tinkerbell. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so shapeshift. So they each just get 3 spells. Pixie, does 2 things, or one or the other. And then Life Force. Now, all this stuff was on the Hasbro Avalon Hill website. They had these previews for all these characters, and it's completely unchanged from that. So, oh yeah, there's the Druid character. No starting armor. Oh, and then they made a wizard, an alternate wizard. So I always considered this character to be Zargon. That's what I always thought. He looked like he was commanding the monsters to attack on the GM screen. But according to Stephen Baker, who invented the game, the main guy, and according to people who played the European version, this was never meant to be Zargon or Morcar, as they called him then, the evil wizard. It was always meant to be Mentor, the good guy. But these stats are exactly the same as the wizard. So this would just be like, I want to play the game, but I want to use this guy because he looks cool. And so you just be the wizard. Because surely Mentor would be stronger than this. He's always behind the scenes with lore tome, gives you your mission and all that good stuff. And as far as there's some new equipment. Now they did away with the armory board, and instead you've got equipment cards, just like the European version. But you still can sell stuff back to the armory at half price. You can visit the alchemist shop to buy potions. But there's the wand. It's only for the warlock. Well, a dagger anyone can use. That's the wizard starts with, and then the rapier anybody can use, but this is what the bard starts with. So there's those cards. And the other cards that were in here are the Crown of Shadows, which is an artifact, and the Dragon Spear, another artifact. So in the European version, these were called quest treasures. In the North American version, they're called artifacts. But I mean, and then quest treasures would just be when you're reading the quest book and you see a treasure that's like it explained down in here. Those are what we call quest treasures. Treasures, we North American players. But I have a lot of respect for the European players, and I hope that they get their deliveries. I hope they get the game released in their home country. Supposedly it's there. I hope they get it translated into other languages besides English, because really that's where it all started, and it would be a real shame if they got the short end of the stick as far as enjoying the game. But yeah, the cards are bigger. The European cards were smaller than the North American cards, and then these are even bigger than those. So these might be Magic the Gathering size. So if you want to buy sleeves for them, that's what you'd be looking for. Something that would fit kind of a poker size card. So there you've got the female wizard. I thought it was kind of boring that she looks so much like the male wizard. But I guess to some people, it's like they just want to replace it. Now this is Hasbro Pulse, so I guess if you order it through the website, this is what you would get. Right now, they're just delivering everybody's pledges. So they had this fundraiser thing to raise $1 million to do the release the game. And so people that pledged, they actually bought the game. And then a year later, we got it delivered. So there's a male elf. I know he doesn't look that different, but if you look at the chest and if you look at the legs, there's definitely differences. But it's the same exact style. Now the female barbarian definitely looks different than the male barbarian. And like her male counterpart, she's standing on these rocks that are built up over the round base. And as you can see, the rubber's pretty flexible, but the body is pretty stiff. So I'm not sure what that kind of polymer is, but it's comparable to a Reaper Bones or Reaper Bones Black as far as that goes. And the furniture feels even more stiff. So there's the female dwarf, and you can see the axe is bent. Actually, I wonder if that's where they glued it. Kind of looks like that's where it was glued on. These were glued together, and I don't know. It looks like they kind of did a kind of a slapdash job with the glue. You see some of the figures like the glue is separated or it's in a bad spot. So I don't know. We'll see how well these hold up. But I would ask for a refund if I were you, if you can't make the repairs, because these are meant to be played with. This is not meant to stay in the box. This is Sir Ragnar. So he's a captured Imperial Knight, or I shouldn't say Imperial anymore. They've changed it. So it's no longer called the Empire and the Emperor, because it does kind of reference Games Workshop and the Old World and Britannia and all that sort of stuff, the world's edge mountains. So instead of the Empire, it's the realm. Instead of the Emperor, it's the King. The world's end mountains, not the world's edge mountains. And instead of the Sea of Claws on the map, it's the Sea of Talons. Sea of Talons. And the Blackfire Pass is the Darkfire Pass. So you get that stuff. But a lot of the stuff hasn't changed. I mean, the Witch Lord's still the Witch Lord. The Black Banner is still the Black Banner. Mentor is still Mentor. Zargon is still Zargon. So there's the female zombie. These are all the mythic tier unlocks. So when people raised a certain amount of money, then they got these bonus figures. So these may never go to retail. But, I mean, they're not that great. It's just, you don't even need them for the quest. It's just basically just alternate designs, monsters. So there's like 2 of those extra zombies. There's 2 female mummies. Kind of like this one. It's kind of cool. The male mummy is doing the walk like an Egyptian pose, but I think the 3D designs that they showed on the fundraiser website don't do these justice. They look much better in their final form, especially with the right colors. They weren't just all gray. So I'm going to guess that that's a female skeleton. Can't prove it, but I mean, it kind of follows. They did a lot of female characters. In the original game, you really didn't have that. I think Cassandra was the only female character. She was a evil minion of the Witch Lord. But then in the US, you got the Elf Quest Pack and the Barbarian Quest Pack, and you had a male and female barbarian, male and female elf. Now that's a, well, I would say it's a Chaos Warrior, but they changed Chaos to Dread, so I guess you wouldn't think of Games Workshop and Citadel Miniatures and Warhammer Fantasy. So it's just because they're not working together with Hasbro this time. Because the original Hero Quest was a collaborative project between Games Workshop, which makes Citadel Miniatures, and of course, Games Workshop is also responsible for the Warhammer Fantasy World, Warhammer Fantasy Battle, Warhammer Fantasy RPG, which came later, and of course Warhammer 40,000. But yeah, so Dread Magic was formerly Chaos Magic. Dread Warriors were formerly Chaos Warriors. So this is a female Chaos Warrior, or Dread Warrior now. So let's compare the classic Chaos Warrior, Games Workshop Citadel, and there's the new one. And you can see there's even a color difference. I think these colors, the original Hero Quest, it came in different colors. So there was kind of like a lighter gray and kind of a darker gray. And with the orcs, there was kind of a dark green and like a really bright green. So there's a new orc and there's a classic orc for comparison. Now this, of course, is the mythic tier orc. Hey, he is using a Warhammer. I think I already used that joke in the last stream, but anyway. Yeah, this is kind of cool looking. I mean, it's like a big bruiser, but yeah, definitely a very different design. I compare it to like a World of Warcraft kind of Blizzard looking thing. Oops. Let's see if we get somebody. Hey, welcome Gasson PL, our first person here today. So welcome. I hope you check out our other stream, which was posted to YouTube. It had a lot of sound issues, but anyway, we're going over the Hero Quest remake, and I finally got it. This is the Mythic Tier box that I'm going over right now. Right there. So yeah, so you've got female Chaos Warriors. You've got, I think these are female skeletons. This is my hunch. And they're pretty bendy, as you can see. They've been glued together in the factory floor. And I think if they're really bent in the package, you can just dip them in boiling water. Don't burn your hands. Then dip them in cold water and let it dry, and it'll be as good as gold. But this cheap carrying case, this cheap thing is what you've got. So then there's the instead of the femur or the femur, you've got the abomination. So it's like I'm gonna guess that this is a female abomination. At first I was thinking, oh, those are eggs, but no, it's just like barnacles or something. So who knows? But it's a scary looking creature, and that is replacing. Let's see, the classic femur from the classic game, 1990, 1989. So anyway, notice the round bases, and this one's pretty stiff. I think the thicker ones, they don't bend as much. And then this is the Mythic Tier Goblin. He's got the Wolverine claws. Well, I guess it's just two. I guess those are like little ninja claws. So I used to think that these goblins didn't look that good, but I think they're kind of growing on me. I mean, yeah, their heads are just a little bit bigger, but not absurdly so like in the preview. In the preview, they looked so cartoonish. They looked like they belonged in a different game entirely. But you could just say, yeah, they're just a little taller, just a little bit. Because the Games Workshop style was to have big heads and big hands. which is fine because, I mean, compare it to something like Dragon Strike, where they've got like the little bitty fingers and everything that just break right off on the plastic miniatures. That's not good. Okay, so here's the dice. You got a second set of 6 combat dice, plastic, and they've got the sharp corners, these D6s. So I was kind of disappointed because the original preview showed the dice having the rounded corners, just like the classic ones. Let's pull all these out of there if I can. I have to be as strong as a barbarian to get the dice out of there. Oh, you just slide it and then pull it up. That's how you do it. Some of these dice, they have like oil on them or something. They're kind of oily. So I don't know if they had to grease them to get them in there. That tells you something, doesn't it? So now, these are not the original dice that I'm about to hold up. These are... So this guy in Germany made these. So it's just, you can see it's just painted on, but it's made of plastic and it's got the rounded corners. This is what I was hoping for, but instead we got this. So you can see the difference there. Now the original HeroQuest dice is smaller than this. They're little bitty things, and they're wood. This is plastic. So let me just get my little custom dice box out, and I'll show you a little something here. So the first official roll of these dice. Yeah. Yeah, these roll a little bit more because they got the rounded corners, but so notice there's some quality control issues with these. So look at these lion faces for the hero. See this one? It's got actual mouth. This one it doesn't. So it's inscribed, but yeah, these could be better. Look at that. See, they're not perfect. Well, the skulls are okay. Well, those teeth. So, there's going to be imperfections with these. I mean, they're made in China. They were dashed off in a hurry, so yeah. They've got kind of it's like a matte finish. Definitely a matte finish. But yeah, the quality control is a little off. That one's okay. So anyway, your mileage may vary with those. But yeah, so 12 of those dice. You only need 6 of them. But, you could give 6 of them to Zargon. He probably only needs 4. And then the heroes will get the rest, the hero players. They probably just intend for you to throw this away after you get it. But, for now it works okay. And here is the Witch Lord. If I can get him out of there. You have to just see it just pops out like that. Push on the back. It's like a candy box. Then we got brown miniatures. It looks like chocolate. Okay, so that's the Witch Lord. Now you never needed this because you could just use the Chaos Warlock. You'd use this guy for any character that was special, basically. So this could be Sir Ragnar. This could be the Witch Lord in the classic game. Chaos Warlock. They replaced that with a Chaos Sorcerer, and then they gave you this special one, just a limited edition. So this is only people who pledged for the Mythic tier get this. Not bragging, I'm just saying. There's, of course, Sir Ragnar. He's only on one quest. He can't even fight. What's that on his back? Chains. Yeah, he looks all right, I guess. He's got a torch. I was going to say this is the female gargoyle, but I guess it's just an alternate gargoyle. Yeah, $4 million for that, or $3,900,000. It's a different design than the other gargoyle. Oh, you can kind of bend the wings a little bit. There's the classic gargoyle, of course, for comparison. So about the same size. This is the smaller one. See, smaller, a little bit more slender, and I thought maybe it's meant to be female, but who knows? It's a stone monster come to life to attack the heroes. And then, of course, Joe Manganiello's dragon. Now, the one that he showed, I think, was actually 3D printed. This is the final one, but it's big and bulky. It's kind of cool looking, I guess, yeah. But People said it's unsteady, it's unstable. Oh, that works okay. The other table, it just like fell right over, but I guess if you've got a nice card table, it'll be all right. So anyway, I've rambled on enough with those to show you the Mythic Tier miniatures. But I want to get into some detail about the quests in the Mythic Tier. So let me just put this stuff away here. This box has kind of a smooth finish to it, just like the Mythic Tier in general. But all the other boxes and tiles and everything, whoops. Hope you can still hear me. Just have a sound issue. Hey, Gasson, can you still hear me? Can you hear the sound? Do we still have sound? Sound check. I just bumped the microphone. I just want to make sure we still had sound. Okay, great. Yeah, we had some sound issues on the other one. I actually got rid of the intro. Oh yeah, when you're cutting out several people have said this now. When you're cutting it out, see how there's this like circular tape? Don't try to peel that off because a lot of people have ripped through their boxes trying to remove that. But anyway, yeah, this is just, notice how that's just kind of a smooth finish. Everything else is linen. So the cards, actually I think these cards, well, I already put it away. I'll just set that off to the side. That's the Mythic Tier. I didn't really close that box properly. Oh yeah, it's the old thing where you got to put the cards into two piles to make it fit, not just one pile. Okay. So see that? It's got the linen, that textured finish on both sides, and it's kind of thin. It's not like a bicycle card, those really heavily glossed, plastic coated cards. So you may want to put these in sleeves for longevity purposes. They don't quite fit in there perfectly, but oh well. Running out of space. I got too much HeroQuest stuff. Close up the box, and then I'll just show you real quick once again the tiles. So these are acid pit traps, and these are like little dread skulls that shoot fireballs at you, and you hit them once and they're instantly destroyed because they can't defend. And this is a grasping vine trap, so you get caught in it, you have to use an action to destroy it. And then this is something that's in Joe Manganiello's. This is all in his quest. And this actually has a linen finish. I was wrong. I thought it was smooth finish, but it's linen, just like all the other cards and tiles. But you will notice that his tiles have kind of a rounded corner to them. A little bit more rounded than the others. And here's the tavern. People said, hey, it's Ye Olde Inn, but it's the Rat and Candle Tavern. And yeah, they put this big, huge, goofy made in China like right on there. It's like, why don't you just put that in the corner and the side or something? But whatever. Just like, whoops, something fell off. Yeah, I lost my wizard. That's okay. I'll get him back. All right, so here we're going to talk about these quest packs. Now, I've spoiled myself on these. Now, if I ever play it, I'll either be Zargon or I won't remember exactly 100%. But I've just skimmed through them, and I've tried to find any story, any lore in them. So the Spirit Queen's Torment, this is by Teos Badia. And early on, some people were bad mouthing him, saying, "Oh, he's a Dungeons and Dragons guy. He's doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know HeroQuest. He's going to try to introduce stuff that doesn't belong." I thought, you know what? I'll give the guy a chance. I don't know what he's really going to do, because HeroQuest is not Dungeons and Dragons. It's a different game. It's a board game. It's not an RPG, not a true RPG, even though it uses all the fantasy elements that people find in games like that. But whatever. So you can see it's the same alchemist shop as Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord. And Mentor, he has these diviners that work for him, which that was never part of the original story. And one of them is an elf, and she has an orc that works for her, like an orc scout. So okay, so there's some good orcs apparently, orc servants. Um, and then they introduce this orc bard character. He's just a bard. So if he can either be a hero in the campaign. Now it doesn't say it has to be 4 heroes, but it could be 3 in the bard, or it could be 5, I guess. The game would be pretty easy with 5 heroes, I would think. But anyway, if one of the heroes dies, they can be replaced one time with one of these bard heroes. But there's several orcs that you can find, and they can be allies. So kind of like a mercenary, or controlling it similar to Sir Ragnar. He moves after the hero that found him, but they would just use the bard figure. Now you only get this if you get the mythic tier, so of course you've got the bard. But you could just be any orc. So Sylvana, and you have to go and try to find the Spirit Queen. And the question is like, can you bring her back from the dark side, or do you just have to kill her? So there can be alternate endings. So there should be 14 of these quests, but you can see the artwork. I mean, they've changed the way the icons look slightly, but it's very similar to the old game. Very similar. So, but really, other than they basically tell you that in the distant past there were these orc kingdoms, and there are these orc spirits. So they talk about the afterlife quite a bit. So there's ghosts and spirits, and I guess those were in Warhammer Fantasy, but in HeroQuest there were ghosts. They didn't talk much about the afterlife, but you pretty much there were hints that it existed, Uller's ghost and so forth. But let's see. Yeah, there's 14 quests. Wow. So yeah, it's like a whole campaign. And I think this writer, he has kind of a casual style. It's not quite as highfalutin as like Stephen Baker's, but see, these are just copies of you're not supposed to cut these out, but I mean, this is just for reference of the artifacts that are used in the quest. So it's kind of cool. So you can dig them out. Okay, Orc's Bane gets used again, obviously, because there's a lot of orcs. So rest assured, if you are uncomfortable with the idea of orcs being good or neutral, there's lots of orcs to kill in here. So you have plenty of opportunities. But anyway, that's that one. So I would say this is kind of like, it strikes me as this is meant for people who are familiar with HeroQuest, but maybe they haven't played it in 30 years. So just kind of get your feet wet. It's kind of medium difficulty. I want to say the monster body points, because you can count up the body points of, like, just grab a quest and be like, okay, not that one, because that's a puzzle. Be like, okay, spoiler, fix spoilers. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So 23 monster body points plus whatever wandering monsters you get. So that's not bad. I want to say the trial in the original game system was like 37, which was ridiculous for a first quest. That's why so many people died on the trial and never played anything but the trial, because they could never beat it. But yeah, the game system, usually it's like in the 20s, and then the 30s for the later quests, except for the trial. And then Keller's Keep, Return of the Witch Lord, I think it goes 40s and 50s for monster body points per quest, typical. And then when you get into like the Elf Quest pack, I think it's up into the 60s through the 80s. Actually, I think the Dark Company would be 50s, but it was a European quest, and in the European version, all the monsters have 1 body point, except for the ogres and the Wizards of Morcar. But once you get into the Barbarian quest pack, it's like 100 or more body points per quest. But they're assuming is also that you've got mercenaries, because in that one you can hire mercenaries. And this one you can find people to help you, but you can't pay gold to hire mercenaries. So there really aren't a lot of rule changes. It's pretty much just like they copied and pasted and did some word substitutions to avoid copyright infringement with Games Workshop. So Avalon Hill, there's the dragon. So Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. This, I don't know. This one, Joe Manganiello, he's a fanboy. He's an actor. He's a jack of all trades. I mean, I didn't know he was going to be part of HeroQuest, but he is. I'd never even heard of the guy before the campaign started. But yeah, he got his thing made, so good for him. And his quest pack strikes me as he started out trying to do cute little things, but then he was like, you know what? I just need to make my quests hard, which is kind of like what every kid does as a GM. Like, you play a quest and the heroes just kind of breeze through it, and you're like, what? You thwarted all my plans so easily. So then the next quest, you just punish them. You just jack up the difficulty, throw all kinds of monsters at them. Not as many traps, so I guess he's honorable. He wants you to fight toe to toe with these monsters, but you better buy a lot of potions. So you start off in the tavern, and there's a gnome. I guess there were gnomes in Warhammer Fantasy, but whatever. But then things quickly kind of derail, and you're just all of a sudden, 30, 40, 50 monster body points in here. So he's got only 10 quests, but they're hard quests. This is definitely the hardest one. The last one is ridiculous. But yeah, it's still doable. But I would say if you're going to play this one, you probably want to do it with fully equipped heroes. So they've got their long swords, they've got their body armor, their helmets, their shields or plate, battle axes, or whatever you can give them. They're maxed out. The wizard's got his cloak and his bracers, because yeah, bracers are a thing now again. But this is really, I said this is the main reason I pledged. It's definitely the reason that I got the mythic tier, because I could have just done the heroic tier and just got the game, because I thought, especially now, but back then it seemed as if I was getting the vibes that, okay, they're going to remake Hero Quest, but unlike so many other franchises where they remake it and they just run it into the ground, they ruin it, they dilute it, they make it crappy, and they alienate the fans, and their audience just gets smaller and smaller until it's canceled. It's like, it doesn't look like that's going to happen with Hero Quest, unless they decide not to release it to retail, in which case it'll just die off and it'll just be a collector's item, which would be unfortunate. But if they bring it to store shelves, like regular stores, I think they'll be able to make it. But the other reason was Stephen Baker. So he was the inventor of Hero Quest. He tells his story, and there's another guy that's like, nah, he had nothing to do with the miniatures, so we can't really say that he created Hero Quest and made it famous. So it was more of a collaborative effort, but he came up with the idea, and he was going to have like a trifold board, and Milton Bradley, Hasbro, they were like, nope, too expensive, need to simplify it, we don't want an RPG, we want a board game, because he wanted to have a game that he could introduce the world of fantasy tabletop to the world. You know, it's like D&D in a box. Even though it's not D&D, it's a totally different game. But that was Baker's idea, and they kept forcing him to like pare it down, simplify it, simplify it. I'm simplifying the story, but that's how I understand it. So eventually, you got the game that we have today, and Citadel had these excellent miniatures that everybody loved back in the day. They were great, and it just the creativity, because they encourage you to create your own quests. It was just so good. And so to see the guy coming back, coming out of retirement, so to speak, because he had made other games. He worked on Battle Masters and Heroescape, which I never played, but Heroescape was hugely popular, and that was expandable with like Marvel and all kinds of great stuff. Editable terrain. Sorry, my voice is getting a little tired. Been talking all day. Well, anyway, I thought, well, I wonder, does he still have it? His Prophecy of Telor. And flipping through this, I would say yes. I get the feeling, and I don't want to sound like a shill or anything or a fanboy, but going through this feels like very much like classic Hero Quest. Now, it's not 100% the same. He obviously had to go with the whole, it's dread, it's not chaos, and, abominations instead of Fimmers and all that sort of thing. He had to abide by the rules because he wasn't the project leader. He was just a guest writer, essentially. But this reminds me of like the Dark Company. There's just so many little story bits in here. There's a lot of lore, but he doesn't stray far. And he takes you back to some of the old quests, but you're doing different things. It has a very Lord of the Rings vibe. So basically the plot is, okay, you want to get the Talisman of Lore, and the Talisman of Lore is kind of like the One Ring. It kind of corrupts you. And so you've got the idea of a powerful magic user that's gone wrong. Actually, the powerful magic user gone wrong is similar to Spirit Queen's Torment, but I think this is the best one out of these three. It's the most interesting, and he doesn't totally crush you in terms of difficulty. I mean, you get 30s for the monster body points. So you might want to play it like this one, and then this one at the end. Some people will just say, I don't care about these, throw these in the shredder, throw them on eBay, and just get this one and play it. But I'm interested in playing this one. There's a lot of magic in it, a lot of magic. So the wizard and the elf will get a workout. I'm excited about this one. This one, yeah, we'll see. I don't mind playing as the monsters. I kind of like doing that as a kid, but they would be monstrous, not like good guy monsters usually. And then this would be the hard one when you've got nothing else to do. But that's a lot of quests. So 14, or I'm sorry, 10, 14, and then 13. Well, where was the 14th one? Well, Stephen Baker did one called Rogar's Hall. Kind of looks like Roger's Hall, but it's Rogar's Hall, and it was released free on the internet. And people looked at it. I actually converted it into the classic Hero Quest look and so forth. But yeah, that was the free one. And it was a training quest, but really it was basically designed to crush you and teach you the value of defeat, I guess. But I think it might turn you off from Hero Quest just by playing it. But it was something free to try out, whether you had the mentor figure or not. So anyway, that's quite a bit. This is probably like 2 years worth of games, like if you play every other weekend with your gaming group, whether it's 2 players or 5 players. So those are my thoughts on the Mythic tier quests. I'll show you that again. It's the contents. And again, this is not to brag. I'm not trying to say, ooh, I spent more money than you. I'm cool. Who cares? But it's just to show you what's in the box. So especially if you're waiting for it. I mean, Dead Gamer, he showed everything. He spoiled everything. But this is just me and my impressions. So, yeah, pretty much. So we're going to set that one aside because I've just got a tiny little card table here. So we got Return of the Witch Lord and Keller's Keep remakes. Now, when I showed the classic, you could see that the classic was red. This is black. And again, you got to cut those pesky tape circles. And then this is black instead of purple. There's the back of it. And as you can predict, those doors are made of plastic. So there you go. And it's just the Keller's Keep, it just has basically a full new set of green monsters. So exactly the same equivalence of the game system. So it's just double the number of green monsters. All those unlocks in the Mythic tier, you really don't need those. Those are just alternates. And then Return of the Witch Lord. I think of the two, the classic, the Return of the Witch Lord is better. It's harder. It's more suspenseful, but you're going after this main bad guy that you fought in the game system. Spoilers. Except he's back and he's stronger and he's got these huge undead armies, or mutant armies as they call them. They actually call them mutant armies, so I didn't make that up. I think that's cool. So Chaos Mutants, or Dread Mutants now. So Return of the Witch Lord, obviously inspired by the Les Edwards artwork, but kind of redone. So let's open up Return of the Witch Lord. Keller's Keep was pretty tough. They're both hard. So if you've mastered the game system, you're going to find. And I've gone through this. Yeah, you're going to find it real challenge. I didn't see any changes here other than the word substitutions. So Dark Fire Pass, Sea of Talons, Dread Magic, Dread Warriors, Dread Warlocks. It's the same story and it's the same game. So the layouts are the same. If you've played this before, you know that's exactly right. Are there any errors in the quests? If there are, they were in the 1990 version. I mean, unless you can find some. One thing that they did do differently, okay, yeah, they don't expect you to cut them off. Those are just for reference at the end, they're artifacts. They did put a blank quest map in there, even though you've already got one in the game system. So I guess if you bought this, where is it? Oh, there it is. If you bought this separately, you go, oh, I can make my own quests. Well, you still need the game system to play it because you're not going to have a board and all that stuff. But yeah, there wasn't a blank thing in there. So that's kind of nice. So instead of having to go to the front and copy all the tiles and everything, you just go to the back and there it is. Because it explains what all the tiles are. See, look familiar? So they did change the gravestones, I guess because those are bad guys. So instead of crosses, they've got swords and like gargoyle heads, and then of course the pumpkin head Zargon symbols, what they call that. But anyway, there's the tile. And as Dead Gamer pointed out, nobody knows what that bone pile is for. It doesn't explain it in the quest book. Whoops, sorry about that. But yeah, you can see those are different. This is the only one that's the same as the old version. Throne room looks the same. These are bigger squares than the old game, and of course, got the linen finish. It's white on the other side, and then matte. So I guess you throw these in the pile, you're gonna be able to tell right away that this is the for the expansion and not the original because it's got white on the other side. I think the European version it was black on the other side. Was the only difference. Of course, the cards. So you got the equipment cards because again, there's no armory board. So these are full-size cards now instead of those little bitty cards. These were only in the North American version, these cards. Because in the European version, you just didn't have these extra artifacts or the alchemist shop, I don't think. I think it was just whatever potions in the European version that were left over at the end of the quest, you just had to put them back in the treasure deck. That was it. So potion of battle. It's all the same prices, everything. And then the artifacts, all the same as before. You've got the spell scroll. Now it's kind of hard to read because they put it in that little tiny text, Fire of Wrath. So anybody can use these, of course. Anti-poison quill, armband of healing, that was a useful one. Dust of disappearance. Now, of course, since these are objects instead of spells, you can give them to another hero. It explicitly tells you, hey, you can give an artifact to another hero. You can share your gold with another hero. It's the magical throwing dagger. The rabbit boots. This is a fan favorite, personal favorite of mine. Spell scrolls, heal body. There's different times where you may have to draw a spell scroll, so you'd put all these together and just like shuffle them up and draw it. I think they do that more in Keller's Keep than Return of the Witch Lord, but there may be, I can't remember if there's once or twice you had to do that. So, yep. So there's more equipment cards than ever before, because before there weren't any. So yeah, these are the miniatures. They're just more of the same of these skeletons, and yes, they're nice and bendy. You can kind of bend them back into shape, or you can dip them in boiling water, like I said. Here's the, it's like really hard plastic doors. So, yep, they stand up. So the entrance door and the exit door. So the steel door or the iron door, and then the reinforced door or the wooden door. So you come in this side and you leave this side instead of using the staircase like you normally do for most quests. There's the mummy with his walk like an Egyptian pose. And I don't think he looks that bad. I think the 3D design that they posted on the Kickstarter, I thought it looked pretty goofy. He was like, just really over the top like that. It's like, I don't know if I like that. Too cartoony. But he looks okay. So let's put him up next to the classic mummy. And this is not a 3D print. It's like, oh, my hand. But you can tell this is more yellowed. And some of it may be with age, but I kind of like the moldy yellow color. So square bases. The European bases were just like these, except they had a little beveled edge. So let's look at the zombies. So there's the remake zombie 2021. And there's the classic zombie 1990. It's got like some dirt on him or something. Somebody had dirty fingers at the factory. So I like the old zombie better, even if he's just a big bulky guy with a cleaver. So classic skeleton with a New skeleton. I like the old skeleton better. Even if the new skeleton, is more detailed or whatever. This guy's more generic, but he just looks cool. It's like he just rose from the grave and he just grabs a farming implement and he's going after you. So that's Return of the Witch Lord, and you pull this out, there's going to be nothing underneath. Yeah, secret ogre. Nope, just cardboard. So Return of the Witch Lord is a great quest pack. I think I had a great sense of accomplishment beating it. There's only 10 quests, but it's definitely a gauntlet, and you're going to fight a lot of monsters. So you definitely want to play the first 14 quests first before you go in there, and are sorely tested, shall we say. So just throw those card slips back in there. Keller's Keep's good too, but I think this one is the better of the two if I had to choose a favorite. Let's put that one to the side. Keller's Keep. Now they changed these to goblins. I think they were orcs in the original artwork, or I thought they were orcs. Looked like orcs to me. Keller's Keep, and everything's the same, other than changing some names. So instead of Karak Varn, it's Kaba Karn. Let me see if I can find it. Kaba Karn. They changed the name. So it must have been, yeah, the Dwarven Fortress, the World's End Mountains instead of the World's Edge Mountains. Let's see, Kaba Karn. Still Grin's Crag, though. And the King instead of the Emperor. Dread instead of Chaos, of course. Kaba Karn. What the heck is Kaba Karn? It's Karak Varn. But since it's not, they don't have any license agreement with Games Workshop and Warhammer World, they just had to change it a little bit. So everything's the same otherwise. There's the end artifacts that you're not expected to cut out. And did they put the blank quest map? Yes, they did. So the blank quest map was not there originally. It was only in the game system, but they've got it there. So anyway, there's the tile sheet, and you know the drill by now. It's white on the back, linen on the front. There's the mystery tile, the statue. No explanation for what that's for. So whatever. There's the infamous rolling boulder. Yep. And the hands that are gonna start clapping. No, it's is it that Cloak of Shadows or the Cloud of Chaos? Cloud of Chaos is something else. Okay, so we've got equipment, artifacts. So once again, okay, so you got the fire ring, another magical throwing dagger, spell scroll, and of course some of these are copied. They're duplicates from the Return of the Witch Lord, the fire ones are basically. So if you had both of them together, then you can have more variety or more chances to get the same one, the one that you wanted when you draw a random spell scroll. Rock Skin, Genie, Potion of Battle. So you've actually, if you've got Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord, you'll have 2 copies of each of these potions. But they've made it clear that the number of cards does not limit the stock. So you can buy as many of these as you can afford. It's not like, oh, I can only buy 1 or buy 2. Doesn't matter if you run out of cards. Same thing with the equipment. If you want to buy 6 helmets, you can buy 6 helmets. Doesn't matter if there's only 3 cards. So we'll put those back in there. Keller's Keep. So really, I'm pleased that they didn't change a lot of stuff. I mean, yes, they changed some names. They changed some descriptions of the orcs and the descriptions of the goblin a little bit, but it's pretty much the same game. So the gameplay is unaffected. Now, if you play the UK rules, you're going to be weirded out. You're going to be like, what? Monsters have more than one body point, and I can come back after I die, and the wizard can't use Borin's armor and Spirit Blade or Orc's Bane. What is this? This is ridiculous. We are just talking in the other stream about that. But anyway, let's look at, and I'm going to switch to the big camera because this is a huge thing. Okay, so there's the gigantic box, and it's thicker, it's taller than the classic box, And that's because the board is a quad fold board. It's a quad fold board, and it has 1-inch squares. So the original had like 22 millimeter squares, so 25.4 now. If I'm doing my math right, my conversion right. And so you think, well, everything's bigger. Well, the miniatures are just slightly bigger. And the cards are bigger, the tiles are bigger. The furniture is actually smaller, though. It's the same size or smaller in most cases, which is interesting. It's kind of weird, but whatever. But I guess the idea is you don't want to crowd everything on the board. So my stuff didn't come damaged, but as you could see, I mean, the dice could have been better as far as the paint job on the dice. Oh, yeah, finally took that off. So as you can see, there's nothing underneath there. It's just what it is. Running out of room here. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so if you like that Les Edwards cover, well, guess what? You're going to have multiple copies of it because, and this is just smooth here. It's just smooth. These trays have these little sleeves. Oop. So it just slides out, and that's how your miniatures work. So I'll show you these again and talk some more about it and do some more comparison. Because I did talk quite a bit about it in the previous stream, so I don't want to just repeat everything that we said already. So let's move that over there. So if we pop this out of there and slide it off, and of course this stuff is just really, really flimsy, but it's kind of got a smooth, and there's some like oily residue in there. So you may have to like clean your stuff with soap and water. Okay. So look at this boring generic dice and look at that oily film on it. Okay, I have to clean that out of there. So they had to grease it up to be able to fit the stuff in there. Some schmutz on it. So, but anyway, look at the quality control on that. The hero shields. It's like, where's the mouth on the... See, that's how it should look. But then it's just kind of worn away already or didn't paint it. And the teeth are messed up on the skull. That's not fully... Yeah, these dice could have used some more TLC. And these pips should be gold, but they never said they'd be gold. But in the preview, they showed rounded corners and they gave it sharp corners. Well, anyway, I like the rounded corners on the dice. It just has that classic feel. So, but they are bigger and they are made of plastic this time. So they will last, I'm sure. Just got a matte finish. It's not shiny. So 6 combat dice. All right, so here's the miniatures that we've all seen before. So here's the orcs. So there's no large sword orc. So in one of the missions, they'll say like Grak or Ulag is represented by the large sword orc, or the sword with the orc with a notched sword. So if we look at the classic, that would be this guy. See how his sword is different than all the other orc swords. There's like standard orc and then notched sword orc. So this is the special orc. So like the boss character. Whereas here, you just have to say, well, okay, fine. This will be the only guy to use this one to avoid confusion. And then the rest of the orcs will be like this female orc with the machete. There's 2 of them. Or this axe orc. Yeah. Or poleaxe orc. And you can see they use like shiny glue to glue these together. So if you paint these, you'll never notice, but I don't know. It is what it is. And then there's 2 of each kind of orc this time. There's the female orc. See how bendy this is? Let's kind of bend it. I mean, they'll probably put up with a lot more abuse than the classic miniatures would, who would get stress fractures every time you bend something and then eventually break off. But the question is, will they be brittle over time? Hopefully not. There's the barbarian once again. Compare it to the classic Barbarian, the painted one anyway. So not bad. More dynamic, but pretty close to the same size. Not that different, really. The Wizard, I just dropped him over the side of the table, so I'm not going to pull him out again. You've seen him. Elf. You know, as I'm I'm admiring these miniatures, because some of them do look pretty decent, even if they don't necessarily all look better than the originals. They're just kind of okay or, good enough. I'm forgetting that I was going to answer the questions from the website. That was the whole point. There's the Dread Warrior instead of the Chaos Warrior. So compared to the classic, once again, classic Chaos Warrior, remake Dread Warrior, the kind of court jester floppy ear horns. But actually, some of the Games Workshop Chaos Warriors had horns like that, I believe. They had all kinds of different configurations. And then, of course, the Fimmer is replaced with the Abomination. If I can get a Fimmer out of here. I keep looking for Fimmers. I'll probably have to 3D print some Fimmers that are big enough for the new set, because I like to have actual Fimmers in there, even if they do have kind of a sordid past. You could always rewrite that, rehabilitate them. They're evil, but not that evil. See, there's the Abomination. Pretty cool looking monster, but it's like a fishman or merman or something else entirely than we've had before. There's the Dread Sorcerer compared to the Chaos Warlock. So this would be like the generic guy. Okay, are you ever going to get to those questions? Yes, I am. Let me just show you the goblins and then we'll move on. So here's the different types of goblins from the remake. Actually, these guys have grown on me. They don't look quite as caricatured and goofy and weird and cartoony as they did in the preview. I guess when they're their proper scale and they're green, and they might have adjusted the proportions a little bit. They don't look that off compared to the originals. And just like orcs, they've become kind of stylized. People have gotten used to like certain looks for them. Why she's holding her daggers that way, it looks weird. Whatever. It's all right. It's good enough. If you were just buying this game for the first time, you'd probably just be like, what's the big deal? It's just kind of generic. So let's get to the questions. So I was going to clean that out. So I'm just going to set these generic dice aside, these board game dice. And let's start answering some questions. So if we go back to, I'm going to post a link to it in the chat here so you can see the unboxing thread that we had at Ye Olde Inn. And again, this is not a sponsored video. It's just, I like that community. All right. So now obviously I forfeited my warranty because you're supposed to be able to return the game within 90 days if you haven't unboxed it. So, I mean, maybe you take it out of the shipping, but as soon as you open those, break those seals, you can't return it. Now, if stuff's damaged, that'd be another story. I think you should take some photos and send it to Hasbro and be like, what's up? Okay, so what's the difference between Mythic Tier and Heroic Tier? Well, I've already showed you that. Heroic Tier is just this box. That's it. That's all you get. You get the miniatures, you get the game system quest book, you get the cards. There's no special flyers or anything. Well, of course, there aren't in the other ones. But the Mythic Tier is that big dragon box, Keller's Keep, and Return of the Witch Lord. Okay, so that's the difference. So it's like $50 difference. But this is the big one. This is where you get everything. Oh, yeah. This is the rest of the stuff that you get in the Heroic Tier also. So let's switch over here. So you've got clearly the pad for the character sheets. See, just like the original, just it's taller.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, it's taller, and look at this pad. Look how thick it is. And these pages are very thick. So I'm not sure if that's 100 or 200. Didn't count them all out, but that's many more than you would get in the original character sheet. And all the material's the same. See, even the 14, it's blank on the back. But yeah, character sheets. And then you've got the open doors. You got the closed doors. And yeah, the heroes can't fit through them, but they're not meant to. You just go on the other side. There's the same number of doors as you would expect, 21 of them total. And yes, the tomb is a knight instead of an elf. This does come off, but figures don't fit in here because the round base is too big. They like stick out. So just like you can't throw, an original guy in there, he just won't fit. So that's too bad. But you could hide a treasure chest in here. You could throw a rat in there. You could throw some skulls in there, whatever you want, just to have a little extra surprise. And I'm not going to show them again, but the two bookcases are identical to one another. So there's no variation. It's just the same thing. So you could paint them differently if you want. I think if I painted anything on this, it'd be the furniture. That's probably it. There's the fireplace once again. You can paint your own picture there or print something off. There's the cupboard. Just not going to take it out even this time. There's the cupboard. Treasure chests, rats. I actually lost one of these skulls. Or I lost two of them, actually. Yeah, because they just pop right off the sprue like really easily, and they're super tiny. But they give you more than you need. They give you 12 of them. You probably need 8 at most. So those are the only things on sprues. I think it was Shadzar said that they should have put everything on sprues and just let you assemble it yourself. I kind of tend to agree with him, but if you just want to get down to plain, okay, fine. So there's claw feet on the table. There's the super bendy weapons rack. Now, does it stand up on its own? I believe it does. Ta-da! See, look how crooked it is. It came like that. Yeah, it stands up. So I'll have to pick that up later. I'll have to do a lot of cleanup after this is done, throwing stuff around. There's the, well, it's just a rat. Thought something broke off. There's the Alchemist bench. I'm going to show you a 3D printed Alchemist bench. So this is the official one. And here's one that just some fans made. It's 3D printed. It's not perfect, but so fan made, Hasbro made, or Avalon Hill made, whatever. So just a comparison. Oh yeah, and let me show you a fan made bookcase and a official one. So here's the official Hasbro bookcase. There's a 3D printed fan made one. And of course I've painted it, but I mean, that's what it could look like if it was painted. Just showing off my amateur painting skills. So this is more like the classic one in terms of the design. See that part? Whereas that's different, much more different. Just want to show you that. Here's the cards. Oh yeah, let's go back to our questions. I'm just gonna do all the unboxing again. Okay, are there any extras included in the box besides what we know? Yes. The miniatures come in these flimsy plastic trays that you have to pull out of. The miniatures are pre-assembled, only the skulls are on sprues. Each of the trays is covered by a cardboard slipcover that depicts the remade Les Edwards cover artwork. There's a white cardboard platform inside the game system box, which I'll show you in a second here, that really just serves no purpose other than to take up space. Well, here, let me just get it out of here first. Down in the bottom there, whoops. Okay, I guess this is trickier to do with one hand. Hold on a second here. Just messing around with this thing. Okay. The candy back in the box, the delicious chocolate. Okay, so there's the board. There's the sleeve for the GM screen. That, they say, is Mentor, not Zargon. To me, that's always going to be Zargon, but whatever. The content is exactly the same as the North American version on the back. Here's the quest book. It's exactly the same, except for some of the descriptions of the monsters at the end and some of the word substitutions. So, and there's the instructions. These have not changed at all, really. There's a couple of sentences they deleted that really don't change anything about the actual gameplay. There's the tiles again. That's new. That's new. That's new. That's new. That's new. This is the mystery tile that everyone's talking about. Thanks, Dead Gamer, for alerting me to that. Everything else is the same there, but this thing serves no purpose. This really should have been the armory board. They could have made that the armory board. Oh well. Too bad. Too bad they didn't. Okay. So there's no extra flyers or anything, no customer satisfaction survey to fill out. Nothing like that. Here's the board. And I'm going to show you something about the board here in a second. Once I put this somewhere else. Okay. This is a board that I had custom made. Board Games Maker. So custom fan-made board compared to official board. This is also quad fold. So I'm just going to switch over and show you what my board looked like. So kind of do that. Flip that around. So that is one way to do a custom board. See how that's on the bottom. These are 1-inch squares. Okay, this is what I made. Cost me like, let's see, what did I pay for it? Like, let's say $40 is about right. So then it folds back together. When you're transporting your game around, it's pretty easy. Now, this is not a high quality material, so you got that kind of rough edge. This is the official one. Okay, it's about the same. This is more smooth. See there. Now you've got the redone artwork, and the edges are a little nicer, a little smoother. And of course, it's huge. It feels like it's gigantic, and they've got it on the edge. Okay, but you want to know what the classic figures look like on this thing? I'm glad you asked. So there. See, doesn't look out of place at all, does it? And actually, these bases on the classic figures are bigger than the original squares. So now they fit like a glove. So you might actually want the board. I mean, maybe. It's pretty good board. Just not got to have a nice big table to play it on. And then you can see the edge there. All right, back to the questions. So people want to know what new content or storyline or world changes featured in the new quest packs. So not a lot. There's no cloak of protection or spear, but the hand axe and the bracers. The bracers is now 550 gold coins. So it's a more expensive piece of armor that the wizard can use. So the wizard can wear armor, but he's got to pay through the nose for it. Holy Water and Potion of Speed were treasure cards in the European version. They're now equipment cards. And there's multiples of equipment cards. And equipment cards, of course, replace the armory, but the number of cards does not limit the supply of the stuff that you can buy. The treasure deck is the same size. All of the artifacts from the North American game system, Keller's Keep and True the Witch Lord are present. As before, the Alchemist Shop potions are now equipment cards. The extra artifacts and the 2 expansions are there. The Mythic tier has extra artifacts. And actually, some of those I think are packed with the game system. So the question is, do you still get them and you can just use them in your own custom quests, even though they're not featured in the game system quests? I believe that's correct. Someone can correct me on that. Because once you start mixing the cards around, it's like you start to forget what belongs where. Because some of the cards are only inside the Mythic tier box, and some of them are inside the game system box. Okay, so are there any clarifications on the cards? Yes, there are a few. So let me get to, so the ones specifically are the Wand of Magic, the Spell Ring, Born's Armor, and I believe it's Courage. So here's the deck of game system cards. Here's the spells specifically. So instead of the more cartoony ones, you've got these. So let's take a look. So I feel like I know the originals pretty well, but okay, so the Genie's the same, Swift Wind is the same, Tempest is the same, Ball of Flame is the same of the North American, of course. Courage, the spell is broken the moment a monster is no longer in the hero's line of sight. So instead of saying when you can no longer see a monster, they make it absolutely clear that's their intention, line of sight. Now, what is line of sight? Well, you can consult the rule book, formerly known as the instructions booklet, the rule book. Let's see what they mean by line of sight. Because visible just means there's another monster on the board. There's a monster in the room. There's a monster in the corridor. What does line of sight actually mean according to them? Some were commenting that it's maybe a little bit more vague, but that's what it means. So the only thing they took away is there was originally a dotted line to that orc up there at the top saying that, oh, you can't target them. You can't target that orc because there's a closed door in the way. You can't target that orc because there's a hero in the way. But you can draw a line even though it's not a straight diagonal from there to there. So you could cast a spell or you could shoot them with a projectile weapon. You can shoot through the open door. See, there's clear line of sight. So that's what it means. So monsters move out of your clear line of sight, then Courage is no longer active. So that was a nice clarification there. Fire Wrath is the same. Heal Body's the same. Pass Through Rock is the same. Rock Skin is the same. Notice it's weaker than the EU version. The EU version gives you 2. The North American, it always just gave you 1. Sleep, great spell, by the way. Veil of Mist, Water of Healing. Yeah. So 1 clarification on 1 spell. Oh yeah, monster cards. Monster stats are all the same, just like the hero stats are all the same. See, that's the caricatured version. It's really over the top. Look at the big head. The miniatures look much better than these pictures, I think. A gigantic shield. Oh yeah, the hero cards, look at that. So starting armor, none. Puts his stuff on the back, but where's the actions? Well, you don't have the actions on there. Instead, you've got these action cards. See, so this would normally be on the back of the hero tile. So just want to show you that, and they've got 4 identical ones. So a lot of cards on the table. So Wizard Staff, these artifacts is the same. Wizard's Cloak is the same. Now one of the creatures, or one of the new heroes, the Warlock, can use Wizard stuff, so who gets the Wizard's Cloak? If you're both playing, I guess you're going to have to fight over it. That's annoying. Wand of Magic, now this is clarified. So allows a hero to cast 2 separate and different spells on their turn instead of 1 single spell. Normally it said the elf or the wizard, but that's because there's other characters besides the elf and the wizard who have magic, namely the new heroes. But you could also have like the barbarian or the dwarf who had some spell scrolls. So if they happen to have the wand of magic, I guess in theory they could use 2 scrolls. That's how I would interpret it. Anyway, Talisman of Lore is the same. Spirit Blade is the same. Spell Ring, once again, a hero. It doesn't say elf or wizard. So store 2 spells. Ring of Turn's the same. Orc's Bane's the same. Elixir of Life is the same. Crossbow, this is equipment now. This is not clarified. So there's a question of, can the crossbow hit the 4 diagonal squares? Is that considered adjacent or diagonally adjacent? Because some people would say it can hit those squares. It doesn't say you can't. So now then what's the point of buying this instead of the longsword if this can do what the longsword can do? Because there's nothing that says you can't use it with a shield, even if you think it should be two-handed in real life. So anyway, that's kind of a debate. That was not clarified, not changed. There's 1 dagger in here. Notice there's another dagger inside the other box. So there's actually 2 copies of the dagger, but the hand axe. So this was ported over from the European version, as I mentioned, but the price it's more expensive. There's 3 copies of the helmet. Holy water, very expensive now. It was free before in the treasure, European version. Longsword, 2 copies of the longsword. Plate mails, the same. Potion of speed. This was from the European version. It's got a price on it now. It's free before. 1, 2, 3 shields. Unlimited stock, of course. Short sword is the same. Staff is the same. Toolkit is the same. Borin's armor is now clarified. May be combined with the helmet and or shield. May not be used by the wizard. So sorry, European version, didn't say the wizard couldn't use it. The wizard could use all the magical artifacts. He could use Borin's armor, Orc's Bane, Spirit Blade. Well, in the North American version, we knew cannot be used by wizard. But there was a question of, okay, you see a helmet in the picture. Does that mean it comes with a helmet? You can't add one? Actually, it's just the breastplate. So you can combine it with a helmet or shield. So it's just like plate, it just doesn't slow you down. This is a new artifact. So the Ring of Fortitude is new, the Phantom Blade is new, Rod of Telekinesis is new, Fortune's Longsword is new. Re-rolling. Okay, now we're into treasure cards. The treasure cards are all the same. So the only thing they did was they replaced the pit hazard with a spiked pit. And the spiked pit was part of the European game, but it's no different. It's just a different picture. Just looks a little scarier, a little nastier. So if you've seen the other video, you've seen all this before. Heroic Brew is the same. Jewels. Sorry, focus there. It's all the same, same. Now it doesn't answer, can you sell potions back to the alchemist shop between quests? Why would you? But the ones that have gold values on them, theoretically you could, for half price or full price. Because they're not like weapons where they get worn down. Do they have an expiration date? Oh yeah, these are the chaos spells, or they're now known as dread spells. So that's the same. Ball of Flame. Cloud of Dread is the same as Cloud of Chaos. Command is the same. Escape's the same. Fear's the same. Firestorm's the same. If this is getting boring, let me know. Lightning Bolt is the same. Rust is the same. Notice this is different than Wizards of Morkar Rust, just like Lightning Bolt is different. Helmet or sword, metal, helmet or sword. Sleep is the same. Summon Orcs is the same. There's the female orc picture. Female zombie. So summon undead. It's the same. Tempest is the same. So now we're back into the equipment. So battle axes, same. Bracers. Okay, so this was in the European version, and it was like, I want to say 200 gold. Or was it? Yeah. So originally I misread this as 350 because it was in a video that was kind of low quality in that moment. But it's actually 550, so it costs more than chainmail. So that makes sense. Just raise the price so the wizard can still have armor, but he just got to pay a lot more for it. Now it says may be combined with a helmet or shield. So the wizard, when he finds the wizard's cloak, well, he can still keep it because he can have the bracers plus the wizard's cloak. So never mind. But I was going to say you could give it to another hero, and okay, so the wizard dies. Somebody picks up his armor. They can wear it and they can keep their helmet and shield. They don't have to get rid of them, and they can still get those bonuses. Does that make sense? Broadsword's the same. Chainmail's the same. Somebody pointed out that looks like the wizard, even though the wizard can't wear it. Whatever. Crossbow is the same as we mentioned. So we're back to the beginning. So yeah, so there's a few clarifications, but not very many, as you can see, very few. So one spell, or yeah, 2 artifacts, and yeah, just a couple of pieces of equipment that are slightly different. So back to the questions. So the monsters cards. So obviously Abominations replace Fimers or Fimirs, however you want to say them. Dread Warriors replace Chaos Warriors, but all their stats are the same, of course, in both cases. Dread replaces Chaos. Now the Druid has a unique spell. It's called Life Force. It's the same as Heal Body, which is the same as Water of Healing. The Bard's Lullaby spell is the same as Sleep. Now the Warlock's Fear is a heroic spell, but it's the same as the Chaos or Dread spell Sleep, but use it against monsters. So we already talked about the cards. There's about 151 cards, I believe, give or take, and they're about poker size or Magic the Gathering size, possibly. So this is according to Cosmic Tavern. He actually measured them. He has this, it's called Game Genic sleeves, and they're 66 by 91 size sleeves, 66 by 91 millimeters, and he said that they fit just fine. And he measured the actual cards, and he measured 64 millimeters by 90 millimeters. So 64 by 90 millimeters, according to Cosmic Tavern. So if he's wrong, you hit him up. But I think he did a great service by doing that video. There's a lot of helpful information there. What are the tiles like? We've already covered that. They've got the same linen finish as the tiles and the cards. And I got to correct this because I thought Joe Manganiello's Dragon Box tiles had a smooth finish, but they actually do not. There's some mystery tiles, the Bone Pile in Return of the Witch Lord, and the statue in Keller's Keep. And the Zargon eye on one side and the Zargon pumpkin stone amulet thing on the other side. That's the purple tile. We don't know what that's for. So no explanation is given. You can use it in your own quests, I guess, for fun. So are there any changes to the rule book? I would say very few, if any. So there was a section that talks about the wizard, saying to the wizard, oh, there's very few things you can buy from the armory, but don't worry, it'd be wise to save your gold because there'll be powerful magical items you can buy in future expansions. They got rid of the powerful magical items that you can buy in future expansions part because, as it turns out, they never did that. There was never a wizard quest pack, and so that stuff doesn't exist. Because yes, there are magical items you can get, but you don't buy them and anybody can use them. So why would the wizard save his money except to maybe buy potions, I suppose? But there's no special reason for just him specifically to do that. Because everybody else buys armor, and it's like, okay, he can buy bracers now, but other than that, he's just buying potions after a while because he has all the good stuff. So we do have some, other changes to the quest book. So black is often replaced with dark, emperor is replaced with king, empire with realm, chaos with dread, warlock with sorcerer, world's edge mountains are world's end mountains, Karakvarn is Kappa Karn, Sea of Claws is Sea of Talons, Fimir is abomination. And interestingly enough, even though we assume Zargon is a man, a guy, a dude, they refer to him as if they're trying to keep it gender neutral. I guess so that girls won't feel bad for being the GM character. Because they made female versions of all the heroes. Well, and you think about it, little girls, they like to play as girls in games for the most part. So that, I guess that's understandable. But Zargana, anyway. But yeah, they'll just say Zargon and Zargon and Zargon instead of saying he or him, or they'll say the evil sorcerer, the dread sorcerer, the evil wizard player. The orc description is different. So I want to show you what's different in the orcs description. Now, I was kind of concerned about this because I thought, uh-oh, are they going to say that the poor orcs are just misunderstood, oafs and not evil, nasty guys? So in the original book, they say that the orcs delight in cruelty and slaughter, and that they've enslaved goblin tribes. Here it just says orcs are related to goblins but are larger and much more powerful. So far, so good. They form the rank and file of Zargon's armies, as before. Those who are allied with the evil sorcerer are fierce and deadly warriors. Okay, that part's different. Who should never be underestimated. That part's the same. So some orcs are not allied with the evil sorcerer Zargon, so they might not be fierce warriors and deadly warriors. Abomination. This replaces the Fimir. So little is known of these monsters. The hulking amphibious humanoids are used by Zargon to enforce his tyranny and are quite dangerous even when encountered individually. So that's completely new, except for the part about them being encountered individually. I think it originally said that the Fimirs will sometimes be leading groups of orcs or goblins, but are dangerous even when encountered individually. Let's look at goblins. Okay, these green-skinned creatures are small and quick. Originally, it said these green-skinned creatures are small and cruel, so I guess they're not quite as bad now. They're just quick. Despite their stature and lack of brute strength, they are dangerous foes. And then there was another sentence originally that said the orcs have enslaved many goblin tribes, and so they're often found together. So there's that. Dread warriors. So originally they were chaos warriors. These humans have become monsters. Originally said these men have become monsters. Minions of darkness. Originally it said slaves of darkness. Now, is it because they think slavery is too scary for 14-year-olds? I don't think so. I think the reason is because there was a well-known Warhammer Fantasy book pack called Chaos Warriors, Slaves to Darkness. So they didn't want to step on the toes of Games Workshop there. They're always heavily armored and often bear weapons enchanted with dread magic or chaos magic. These dread warriors, now they did originally call them these dread warriors, strike fear into all but the bravest or most foolish of opponents. So obviously that's where they got dread. They got, oh, they're called dread warriors. Let's just call them that. They're just these scary warriors. And I think there's another change in here. It's that one with the teleportation rooms. And instead of saying Uller's ghost cackles, yeah, Uller's ghost appears, chuckles wildly. In the original, it said chuckles madly and disappears. So that's Castle Mystery Quest 10. So that's one change there. And in case you were wondering, there is a quest error. Spoilers, everybody. Lair of the Orc Warlord. Now, in the European version, this was not the case. But in the American version from 1990, they introduced an error with a trap. And that error has just been repeated verbatim here. So there's a treasure chest. It's unmarked. So I guess there's just no special treasure there. You just draw a card. And why did they put a pit right next to it? That makes no sense. Because in the European version, I believe you have to move up next to a chest to search for it or to open it. In the North American version, you just stand anywhere in the room and you just search for treasure and you find it. So that pit serves no purpose being there. It's just if you happen to walk there, but why would you ever? You just step into the room, search for treasure, and you leave. And the trap never gets you. So really what they should have done is they should have just made it a trapped chest and then put a marker here explaining it. So I talk about that in the forums. It's just a goofy, but it, for years we didn't even recognize that was the case. I think someone mentioned that there's a missing door in Return of the Witch Lord. There's supposed to be 2 doors in a certain room, but they only put 1. I haven't verified that myself, but the person who reported it is pretty reliable, so I'm going to assume that's the case. So there might be a couple of typos like that. I think it's Stephen Baker's quests. They say that there's actually more than a few little errors, like maybe there's a letter and they don't explain the letter, or there's a paragraph but they didn't put the letter on the map. And you can pretty much figure out where it's meant to be. Like there's a secret door, but there's no secret door tile. So you assume, oh, it's just the furniture slides aside. But it could have used another pass from an editor to kind of fix that. So that's too bad, because Stephen Baker's Prophecy of Telor is, from all I can see, is a great. I mean, it's the best of the new quest packs. I think it's I almost put that in there. Um, it's really good. So back to the questions. Let's see what we got left before my voice holds out. Okay. Yeah, the quest books for the game system, Keller's Keep, and Return of the Witch Lord are pretty much identical except for those things that I mentioned, those small word substitutions. Yeah, the prophecy. Oh yeah, talking about the new quest books. Once again, the prophecy of Telor, 13 quests, follows the story of the Talisman of Lore and a return to Mellar's Maze to follow a formerly good and powerful magic user who was corrupted. Tolkien vibes in this one. The focus is heavily on the wizard lore, and magic in general. The quests follow similar patterns to those in the game system, but with new puzzles and lots of story enhancing text, a la Dark Company from Advanced or Hero Quest, Advanced Quest. Uh, so more lore for Zargon to share with the heroes. Other than two quests, the difficulty doesn't seem extreme. More lots of puzzles and gimmicks to keep the heroes guessing whether they have played Hero Quest before or not. Highlights include underwater travel, so now you get to use those abominations, those amphibious guys. Spoilers: you can turn into orcs. It's a curse. You kind of like turning into werewolves in ElfQuest pack, except you're just weakened. Multi-level towers and other twists and turns. Takes place a long time after the original Talisman of Lore quest, and if you succeed, it will reaffirm your status as champions. So for all we know, it's like last quest before they went into retirement for the heroes. So it's kind of interesting, kind of a little coda, and it's like Stephen Baker revisiting his roots. So I like it. It could stand on its own after the 14 quests, of course. The Spirit Queen's Torment, 14 quests, seeks to incorporate orcs not just as evil cannon fodder, but as occasional allies, which is controversial with some players. A few orcs are portrayed as neutral or even good and can be recruited as secondary mercenary-like characters. The story begins with Mentor's elven diviners, who have some orcs and apparently goblins who work for them. The bard hero figure can stand in for these characters. Don't worry, classic fans. There's still plenty of use for Orc's Bane and plenty of greenskins, quote unquote, to kill in this one. They call them greenskins in the Warhammer Fantasy. There are two possible endings, other than the total party kill or failure, of course. Many mentions of the afterlife and spirits, more so than most quests before seeing the franchise. Once again, it deals with a powerful, formerly good magic user who has been corrupted. And then finally, the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness, 10 quests, introduce the dragon figure called Venom. And the pack incorporates a whole sheet of new tiles, including the Rat and Candle Tavern room that begins the adventure, as well as acid tiles and other things. Now, oddly, in his pack, some of the tiles have the same picture on both sides. Like, what's the point of that? I don't know. The dragon is the main boss at the end, and you are seeking a dragon spear that is like the equivalent to the dragon of the Spirit Blade as to the Witch Lord. Not entirely true, because apparently the dragon can be hurt by anything. He only has 5 body points, but I think he attacks and defends with 6. And he's got tons of magic. Imagine a bad guy who has a Cloud of Chaos spell and a Firestorm spell. So he can basically put everybody to sleep and then just blast them so that they could take up to 3 damage each. That's incredibly powerful. In Joe Manganiello's Crypt of Perpetual Darkness, pretty much he gives you a lot of sorcerers, a lot of bosses, and just about every single one of them either has Firestorm, Cloud of Chaos, or Cloud of Dread, what they call Firestorm, Cloud of Dread, or Command. So that's one where you can take over a hero, like take over the barbarian and have him attack everybody. It's pretty hardcore. Okay, so there's a lot of spoilers there. Spoiler alert. Has anything changed from the preview, the digital preview, to the actual game? Yes. So the plastic dice have the sharp corners instead of the rounded corners. Originally, the figures were all going to be gray, and they were going to expect you to paint them, but then they decided to make them color-coded like the originals. But they told us that before. It was like one of the final updates before they stopped updating that fundraiser page, before the fundraiser was completed. They did show a picture of a treasure card of a potion of healing, and it said it restores 4 body points. but that's like the European version. Instead, it restores the roll of one red die. So you roll one red die. Oh, I only got one. Oh, I got three. Whatever. Oh, I got one. Oh, I got five. So you could have up to six instead of just four automatically. So that was just an error. Yeah, it's just 1d6 for all the potions of healing in the treasure deck. And there was something that they mentioned in the Q&A session with the designers or the representatives, the PR people. They said, "Oh, well, there's going to be a few real clarifications, like if Zargon, like if the heroes see one monster in a hallway and there's other monsters behind it, Zargon should put them all out. Like they see all the monsters." Well, that's logical. That makes sense. I agree with that. That's actually how I always played, but it's not mentioned in the rule book anywhere. So they used an example that wasn't there. So, oh well. I kind of wish they clarified some other things. Let's see. Are the new heroes part of the classic quests? Answer: no. Only the bard is introduced and is a player character or a non-player character in the Spirit Queen's Torment. I think it's quest 4 that they introduce him. But all the other heroes, the new ones, never mentioned. The alternates never mentioned. So it's just the barbarian, the elf, the wizard, and the dwarf. That's it. That's all the quests assume that you have. So if you play with those other heroes, are you supposed to swap them out for one and keep the other three, or swap three out and keep one, or just add them to the party? I guess you do whatever you want. Okay, size comparisons. Well, Kale Dark Hollow has done size comparisons for all the stuff. There's photos on Ye Olde Inn. Go check it out. It's great. Let's see. Keep forgetting to check the chat. Yeah, I think we still just got one. That's okay. All right, so I think all of our volunteers, I gotta update the page. I think there's a couple people that still don't have the game yet out of our list of 10 people, but most people are getting it. I feel sorry for the people that are in other countries that are still waiting. So I hope you get your game in a timely manner. And if you're in the EU and you really want to play the old rules, I hope you do print out a copy of the European rulebook, the rules of play, and play it according to how you like, because HeroQuest is easy to modify. Okay, what happened to the unmet stretch goals? I answered this already. Joe Manganiello's quest book with his dragon, his unique tile sheet, and then the extra gargoyle have been released. So it doesn't matter that they didn't get the $4 million. Those are still part of the mythic tier that people got. What's on the back of the GM screen? The same stuff that's on the back of the North American GM screen. So monster stats, what can be done in a turn, basics of combat. We already answered what the Reaper, well, they're not Reaper, what the plastic miniatures are like. I've compared them to Reaper Bones Black. Some people have compared them to Descent. So if you know what that's like. The furniture is brown and gray, not just gray. And there's a few pieces that are not the same as they would have been in the original. Like the rack was originally brown, but the remake version is gray. It's minor. Some of the furniture is actually smaller, slightly smaller than the original versions. So that was a surprise to a lot of people. They figured the furniture would be scaled up too. But I mean, on the quest map, they don't take up, like, let's say that you've got a piece of furniture, it doesn't take up 6 squares. It's really more like 3, but you kind of put it in the middle of the squares. It kind of overlaps. Are all the heroes the same color? Yes, they're all red. So that includes the mentor figure. That includes Sir Ragnar. All the gender swapped heroes are red. Same shade of red. No blue heroes, unfortunately, like in the Elf quest pack or Barbarian quest pack. So all the undead characters are off-white, as you've seen. Heroes are red. Chaos Warriors, Gargoyles, Dread Sorcerers, and the Dragon are gray. Orcs, Goblins, and Abominations are dark green. Furniture is either, oh yeah, the iron doors, tomb, fireplace, sorcerer's table, torture rack are all colored gray. The rest of the furniture is brown. So the fireplace and the rack are different than the classic. And yes, the top of the tomb comes off. Okay, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it as far as questions. So I know this one has been kind of like long and rambling, but I just wanted to make sure that I answered the questions people had. And I'm going to ask, are there any more questions? So my voice is getting tired, but I mean, I could stay up a little bit if there's anything else. So thanks for joining me on this stream. Thanks for watching on the replay. Go check out Ye Olde Inn. Go check out YouTube and definitely check out Dead Gamer, Cosmic Tavern, quite a few other people. If you just search for HeroQuest unboxing, you'll get tons of videos. Some of them, people just open up the box and that's it. Some people talk more in depth. Some people get out their old sets and kind of reminisce. I like those the best, but you'll find lots of them. But yeah, starting November 3rd, I think that's when the first people in our forum started getting it, started talking about it. So yeah, Kale Dark Hollow, he posted tons of photos comparing the different sets. Hispazargon Shadzar pointed out a lot of things to me. Lesto Dante. There's quite a few other people that names I've forgotten. Twicket. Who else? Fane Flynn was kind of busy. Wally Dubs was kind of busy. Several people have actually ordered sets and then shipped them to their friends in other countries, which is cool. So they don't have to wait for those countries to finally release them, because supposedly they're going to get them. Supposedly the game's coming to retail. Supposedly. And something else, they've teased a lot that the Barbarian Quest Pack, the Frozen Horror, which I wish I had it handy, but I don't have it, the quest book handy. But supposedly the Frozen Horror is going to be the next one released. We don't know when. Maybe sometime next year. But that was the hardest quest pack. So Joe Manganiello looks like an amateur compared to whoever made the Barbarian Quest pack. Now, in the Barbarian Quest pack, you can hire mercenaries, and you're going to need every single last one of them to help you out. You know, these 2 body point warriors with crossbows and long swords and stuff, because they throw like 100 body points worth of monsters at you. And there's the last 2 quests it's like a 2-parter, so you don't have a chance to go to the armory or heal yourself or restore your spells. You're just fighting, for your life the whole time. And there's monsters that can kill you like instantly, like the Yeti. If the Yeti does any damage to you with an attack, puts you in a bear hug, and you lose 2 body points every turn, and you can't get out of it. Someone has to kill the Yeti to free you. So that's pretty tough. And the Barbarian Quest pack starts out with 3 solo quests, where one of the rooms there's a Yeti. So if you open the room and you don't kill him or get away, you're basically dead. So that's supposed to be for like a beginner player, like, oh, play these solo quests so that you can catch up with the other heroes. Like you're gonna you're gonna turn somebody off of the game because it's so crushingly difficult. So I've never played Dark Souls, but it might be the Dark Souls of the HeroQuest world. And there's a lot of errors in it too. There's like unmarked chests and weird stuff. Same thing with the ElfQuest pack. So a lot of people say, oh, they weren't play tested. But at the same time, they had a lot of cool miniatures. Oh, there's a creature called a polar war bear. And the polar war bear, it does 2 attacks every turn. And they say that you can only defend once. So now does that mean the second attack is completely unblockable? Or does it mean, like, what if you rolled, 6 shields? So it's first attack, okay, you defended. The second one, you defend some of it. But 2 attacks, that's just brutal. And these monsters have a lot of body points too. And the sorcerers have a lot of spells. So yeah, the Frozen Horror, the Barbarian Quest pack, they're gonna have their work cut out for them, because if they do what they did here, they're not gonna change anything, maybe except a couple names. There's the Powers of Dread in the Frozen North, and they're just gonna release it, and people are gonna be like, what? This is impossible. This is ridiculous. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see the reaction. But this is one of the quest packs that back in the day, I mean, it wasn't available very long, and people in the EU never got it. Of course, people in the EU got Against the Ogre Horde and the Dark Company and Wizards of Morcar, which people in the US never got. I never even knew those existed until like 2002 when I discovered places like the Inn that talked about them. But yeah, everybody wanted the Barbarian Quest pack because they wanted the miniatures. And so maybe they'll sell it on that alone. But if they play the quests as written and they don't make any changes, you're going to have some angry customers. They're going to play one quest and be like, nope, that's it. That was too hard. Well, okay, so there's no more questions. Thanks for visiting. Have a good night. My voice is tired, so I'm going to clean up this mess. I'm going to put all this stuff away. I'm not sure when I'll get a chance to play any of these quests, but I mean, I do have people that I played Hero Quest with, who, I mean, if we're playing Return of the Witch Lord or whatever, we can just use our classic sets. But I mean, I guess I could walk people through the new quest too, because you just use the old components, and we just have to kind of wing it a little bit more. It could be done. So anyway, thanks to everybody who participated in the unboxing project. Hope you have fun with the game. Don't get too angry, too bent out of shape. Send your complaints to Hasbro or FedEx or the post office, whichever is responsible. But try to be constructive. All right. Take care. Everybody stay safe and have a good night. And be sure to check us out next time on Hero Quest Fans. Bye-bye.